All right, I'm going to tell our story of 10 years ago when the tornadoes hit our area. It was a very intense and very traumatic day. And, and so simply our day began really early that morning. Robbie woke us up with tornado warnings that he was hearing on the radio. He listened to the radio all night. And so that's how our morning woke up. And, we live in Alabama. Tornado warnings, bad, severe weather days, we know they happen. And at that point, I had not prepared anything. I had not even watched the weather. I had heard at a meeting the day before that we were going to have bad weather and thought, okay, bad weather just means we can't go outside and play. And so the day began, and Dan went to work like normal because, it was just a severe weather day. We had no idea what that day was going to bring. And I had guys coming over our refrigerator the night, a couple days before we found out it was leaking. And so leaks, our wall and our carpet were wet. And so they were coming to set up fans, to help dry inside the wall and the carpet. And so there were a lot of storms that were just kind of coming in. Some were severe and some were not as, but most of them were severe. I mean, for where we were. But we had one that came through in the morning, like in the late morning, early afternoon. I don't know exact time. But it was a pretty intense one. We were in our little bathroom with every tornado warning. We were in the bathroom, and that one, I don't think a tornado hit. I know a tornado didn't hit, but the winds were strong enough that it pushed water underneath our door, and later we found out did some damage to our front window that had to be fixed. So that, began that. And so the guys came over to set up the fans and everything, and we lost power after that one storm, so they couldn't do anything. So they said we'd come back later in the afternoon when some of these storms had passed, because we had no idea the severity of that day. And, so I tried to keep it as normal as I could for the kids, and, fed them lunch, and I homeschooled all my kids then. And at that point, and Jeremy was with us too. So I had 4 kids at home. And so at that point, they were starting to close down schools early, and Dan worked on the Army base, and they were sending people home. So he finally was coming home, and the guys came back to set up the fans. And, we were having warnings after warnings, and different storms were coming in. And then the really intense time came, and so warnings happened again, and Dan and one of the guys went into the little bathroom. I mean, not the little bathroom, the laundry room. And the other guy and the rest of the kids, Dan had 2 kids, I had 2 kids. They were in the little bathroom, and I was looking out the front window with this other guy, watching the weather. I had filmed earlier. What I didn't know at the time was the F5 tornado coming through, the sound of it. I just thought it was thunder, but it was the roar of the F5 in the distance. And so I had been, standing on our porch looking out, and then I closed the door. It was starting to get a little bit more intense. And so then I was at the dining room window looking out, and we saw what looked like the bottom of a tornado come in front of the house. And that's when I yelled, "Oh shit," I said, "tornado." And he and I ran really fast into a little bathroom. And it was just really loud. The storm got intense, and then just, it passed. And then you just kind of sit in there and you think, what just happened? Did the house collapse? Are we okay? Is what, we had no idea. It was a really intense moment. And so we all came out and started looking around, and Dan saw that in the back that it had torn out our tree. We had a sycamore tree in the backyard. And that fell on our swing set. And, there was a lot of limbs in the yards, the street, and you could see some shingles. So, but not far from us is where that F5 tornado it destroyed, just the line of just destruction. But at this time, we had no idea. We had no idea that had happened. we just kind of waited. We did some, damage assessment. The two guys that were with us left when everything kind of calmed down. We'd lost power, so they couldn't set anything up. So that's why they left. We had lost power, and we went. My phone just took a picture. And, they went home, and we kind of struggled to get things that we could see with, because now we had no power. We had no electricity. We had to find the flashlights. Now, all our freezer and refrigerators didn't have power. We had no idea what was going on. One of the local radio stations, we tuned in so we could listen to the news. We didn't have Wi-Fi. The phones weren't working really well. It was a very spotty thing. We didn't fill up our cars, so we didn't have a lot of gas. So it wasn't like we could, hop in our car and go driving around, because we didn't know what was really going on. And so the next day we kind of getting a better idea of, that our area was hit, and the severity of it. And, a lot of people in other parts of Huntsville and that, North out, they had they just had bad storms. Whereas like we all of a sudden looked like a disaster, a war zone. Red Cross moved in, FEMA. It was pretty intense, and we didn't even have the worst. We had like this compared to people that lost their lives or their houses. And this is why today I make sure we're ready. I mean, how do you make sure you're ready for that? You can't. But it was intense. We got through the week. We decided to stay and not go anywhere. It was kind of a, it wasn't overly hot, so it wasn't bad without air conditioning. We had enough food that, one of our neighbors, Bobby, who was a member of our church, Dan had gone to go get propane. He had to drive like an hour away, I think, to get gas and propane, because we had a trailer. And so we could cook in the trailer. And so our friend that lived in the same neighborhood as we did came down. She had some chicken, and so she came down and fried up some chicken so we could use it. We were trying to use all the meats, using our grill to use what meats were starting to thaw in the freezer, and doing the best that we could for those days without power. And stuff happens, and so you have to adapt. And Dan and the boys cut the tree up and put that down by the curb, and we help people clean up. And the nighttime was filled with generators. We didn't have a generator. We have one now, a small one, but we have one. But like, it wasn't quiet at night. It was just the constant hum of generators everywhere. And when you finally got to go somewhere, like Kroger's finally was able to get up and running, and like they were just like lines of like trucks, like semi-truck, the back of the semi-trucks that was holding like emergency supplies and water, things for people to go get that they needed help with. And I don't know why I'm so emotional. 10 years ago. I'm good. But so the community came together, helped people get things that they needed, and we rebuilt. 10 years later, the only true evidence really is the broken trees. You go driving in that area, you can tell where tornadoes came through. And it's just like if you live on the coast, you can tell where like hurricanes come through and they just snap just a row of trees. You can tell, but the trauma of these tornadoes, they still stick with my kids. And for a long time, they played tornado safety. They would their closet with, their safety zone. And They would identify what tornado was coming through. Was it an F2? Was it an F5? What's the severity? And so they use play as a way of coping with it. And they did that for years. They did that. When we would have power outages, my kids would kind of freak out because we went, a week without power. And some of my kids come from that traumatic, trauma background. Three of my kids are adopted. And so, it, you don't really realize what is affecting them until something happens. And even with Robbie, like 2 years ago, we had this freak storm that came through. I was driving one of our girls to the doctors, and all of a sudden the freak storm came, and the tornado warning sirens were going off. My phone was buzzing, and he was home with the baby, and he was home with 2 babies. And, he was kind of freaking out, and, just kind of threw them didn't throw them, but got him into the, our little bathroom. It's a tornado room, one of our tornado safety rooms, and got him in there, and he's like, I'm not ever babysitting for you again, because tornado sirens, when we know it, just kind of, it traumatizes. But my kids also know what to do. Like, we have a routine, we have a rhythm, we have we tell them, you have to watch us. And when we say, you listen, I don't care what you're doing, what's going on, and so we have like steps, and everyone's kind of got like a different responsibility in that step. A lot of times Dan is not here, so I'm on my own with the kids. And now that Robbie's working, that's even changed a little bit. If we got little kids, Antoinette, if I say, all right, you need to we always put pillows and blankets in the room that we're staying in. If it's going to be a long night, we may put some books in there. Shoes, there's always got to be, they'll line shoes up, so if they have to go in the room, their shoes are there to put on. If we have got babies, we'll keep diapers and wipes and some baby formula. We also may put some snacks in. It just depends. Is it daytime? If it's nighttime, I really don't do that. But we make sure everything is charged. So the minute we know that there's going to be tornado warnings, we charge everything. So if we need anything, we can, they're charged. And like if we lost power or something like that, I always make sure that I have my keys in my wallet. When we had to do that, just close by, I watch. We don't throw them in there unless I know. I mean, the technology is pretty good about letting you know kind of where things are. But if it's close, my kids are there. One of the times just not too long ago, we brought car seats in. And because one of my kids was a little bit more active and just, had some developmental delay. So she was just very active and doesn't sit still very much. And so we brought the car seat in. So if we had to do a longer, in the tornado room, I could just buckle her into the car seat so she could watch TV without her kind of going climbing all over everything. We have baby slings that we'll use for the younger, kids if we need to use it. One of the things we realized that we are not that greatly prepared. We're better prepared now, but is our emergency preparation. We used to have like a lights out box that had all our flashlights and, batteries, and, the lights went out. This is what we went to go get. And a certain kid of mine, went through and has, over the years kind of confiscated things in the box, and the box is not as well stocked as it needs to be. And it's okay because batteries need to be kind of replaced every so many years. But the flashlights have disappeared, needless to say, so I need to restock that. I've gotten some things that I've restocked, and we're getting our water supply back restocked. And so I need to continue that because I think you're supposed to have 2 to 3 gallons per person backed up for each person. So we're working on that. But that was our day and how it's affected us now. And obviously, just talking about it, I didn't know I'd get so emotionally worked up talking about it. But it happens, and a lot of stuff happens, and you just you do your best to get through whatever it is, and you move forward. And that's what we did. You know, we're we're stronger for what we went through. I think everybody is. I think our neighborhoods came, you know, we got to know more of our neighbors, because you kind of were outside a little bit more than just inside because of the weather. I mean, having no air conditioning. You know, we already homeschooled, so missing school for us was not a big deal. You know, unlike when COVID-19 came through, my kids were all in school, and we were just in a different situation that was really struggling. So for us, it didn't make a difference. We did take some time off, and I think I ended up just kind of ending our year a little bit early, because they were going through different life skills. So hopefully we never have to go through a day like that again. But if we did, I think that we would be better capable of handling the situation. Not perfect, but, you know, we take care of a lot of kids, and we want them to feel safe. And so for them to feel safe, they have to trust us that we have a plan, and we have plans for different things. And we have a plan, and the tornado is probably the one most talked about plan, because it happens more often. We do review our other emergency plans. But anyway, that was just my short video on short. It's almost 17 minutes long. Oh, we talked a lot of our experience from 17 years ago.